On today's video, no, I said it, I'm coming in too hot with that. I'm a relatively chill person, so why do I always start my videos with such energy? On today's video, we're gonna be building a Kokedama. Let me say that one more time and just to make sure I pronounced it right. We're building a Kokedama. Now the exciting thing for me about building the Kokedama is for the first time in my life, I'm gonna be raising a plant outside of a pot. Let me say that one more time, because I'm just in the mood of saying things one more time in this video. A Kokedama is a way to raise a plant without a pot. Can you believe it? Inside without a pot, mind you. This is the plant that we're gonna be using. This is a ginseng plant. Now I've debated actually trimming this thing. It's super tall. It might be getting in my face a lot in this video when I'm making this Kokedama. I've gone back and forth about whether I should trim it or not, and I've come to the conclusion. I've made the executive decision for this video that I'm gonna leave it untrimmed until the very end, and that'll be our finale shot when I kind of clean this thing up, trim off all these leaves. But I just wanted to point that out so you didn't think I was ridiculously gonna keep this ginseng plant like this. And now we can finally get out there. I can show you all the supplies and we can get building this thing. If you talk real slow while you're setting up your camera, it'll, I don't know, it just works a little bit better for you in my opinion. So the ingredients to make a Kokedama are pretty simple. Let's go through them. First things first, as with most plants, we've got soil. Second thing second, I'm going through the exciting ingredients with you first and saving the boring stuff for the end. But second thing second is sphagnum moss, something called cheesecloth. And then last things last, we've got twine, just regular old twine. And I've got my spritzer. Now what do you need the spritzer for? It's not to water the plant. You actually water a Kokedama plant completely differently than you would water most plants. But what the spritzer is for is because we gotta get our soil a little bit moist. The first step to actually creating a Kokedama is creating basically a soil ball. Actually, you know what? I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. The soil, this is the second step. Hold the horse. We're gonna set this aside. We got too ahead of ourselves. And we forgot about our little ginseng plant back here. First of all, we gotta get this guy out of his old home and start preparing him for his new home. And basically what I'm gonna do is just kind of work these roots. I wanna get as much of this old kind of dirt out of there as possible. I don't wanna damage, too much of the root structure down here. It's already gonna be a little bit stressful for this ginseng plant moving into its new house. But we do kind of want to squeeze it and get, as much as we can without completely ripping the entire ball off the bottom. I say in, I think almost every one of my videos, at least when I'm dealing with plants like this, that what I've learned about gardening is that it's, like everything in life, it's all about that fine balance. It's about knowing how, gentle you have to be, but also how forceful you can be on things like the plant's roots and when you're trimming them and things like that. Hopefully you got a plate like me, but it's still gonna get your table dirty. And now I just said to be completely gentle with those roots, but that doesn't mean when you have the opportunity, you can't get in there and you can't trim a little of this off. So what we're gonna do is actually just trim off. See all these dangling, kind of loose roots down here? The plant will be just fine if I just cut some of those off. So we're gonna clean things up while we've got them exposed. And don't worry, before long, this plant will be doing what it's doing. It'll be shooting out new roots all over the place. And everything's gonna be just fine for this little ginseng. Remember when I said step one was was preparing our soil? Well, I take that back again. Not only wasn't that step one, because that was step one, but it's not even step two. I think I've made a decision at this point that this video isn't going to involve steps. We're just going to make a Kokedama for God's sakes. Let's do this. The next step we're going to do is preparing just a little bit of our cheesecloth. So let's kind of unwind this. Now basically what this cheesecloth is going to do is when we eventually do get back to that soil, the plan is going to be to make just a big soil ball. And that's going to go all around the roots of our ginseng plant here. And then this cheesecloth is what we're going to wrap around the soil ball to just sort of keep everything in place. But what this will do is it'll allow water to still get in there and out of there and all of that kind of stuff. Should have been giving you like up close shots and stuff. Oh well. I don't feel like moving the camera around on this video, guys. We're gonna do, I'll lean towards the camera a little bit more. But yeah, we're gonna keep the, I only have one camera. So when I'm doing all those like up close shots and then back to there and then all that, I love that moving around stuff. But when you're you know, working with an old, you know, Japanese, what do you call it? You know, a traditional way of growing plants, which is what the Kokedama, that thing that we're doing is. When you're working with an old traditional thing like that, sometimes it's okay to take it a little bit easy on the video end too, and not worry about moving the camera around so much and that sort of thing. So let's lay our cheesecloth down on top of our plate there. And we still didn't really get this soil quite moist enough, so let's continue spraying it. And the only reason that I'm actually spraying or getting everything so wet like this is because I need some way to like form it into a ball around these roots. Again, we're gonna hold it with the cheesecloth, but when I at least need it to kind of stay and not crumble apart quite like that. Now, this right here is going to be the tricky part. This is going to be the part where we have to take our plant. We're going to mold a soil ball around those roots, and then we're going to hold it into place until we can get it down on this cheesecloth and hopefully, you know, wrap that cheesecloth around there and keep everything into place. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the plant right into the middle of the bowl. Oh man, I'm really debating. I want to give you a better shot for this one. I'm sorry. I know I said this whole speech about how I'm not going to move the camera around and stuff, but I just don't feel good. I want you to be able to see into this bowl while I'm doing this. Yeah, I got you a little bit of a better view into the bowl here. Sorry guys, this is going to be, sometimes you have to identify what's going to be the most exciting part of the video. And you know, Kokedamas are so simple that there's not going to be a whole lot of excitement. And I deemed this to be exciting enough to change the camera angle. So that's what we've done. Now let me start trying to make some sort of a soil ball around this thing. And you know what? I just came up with a new idea. Instead of trying to, you know, form a soil ball and all that, you know, sometimes things just kind of pop into your head. We've got our cheesecloth laid out here. Let's just spread some soil around on there like that. I actually can't believe I didn't think about this before. And I was gonna take the hard approach of trying to, you know, form a softball sized soil ball around my roots and somehow manage to move it. When I'm already working with this cheesecloth here, we can stick our plant right into the middle. This is gonna be the part where you're getting a little bit nervous. You want to make sure you're doing it right and all that. And my suggestion is just have fun with this part. This is the part where you get to get your hands dirty. And you know, you're working a soil ball. Come on now. Don't overthink it. I'm just going to bring the cheesecloth up, straight up, instead of trying to wrap it all around and all that sort of stuff, because I'll trim all the excess off. So I'm going to bring it up like that, you see? I'm just kind of bringing it up like a little bag. And now we'll even find the bottom of the plant just by feeling it. And now is when we start to kind of hold it in your fingers like that and pull it up. Let me give you a nice up close shot of this. Start yanking some of that cheesecloth up just to make a nice tight little ball down there like that. Again, don't worry about all this excess. Just concentrate on making a nice ball. And I think we've achieved it. I want to get a piece of twine around where basically to do exactly what my fingers are doing. Okay. Tie in the knot. Putting one end in my mouth. I thought I'd pick a soil ball up, you know, and we'd be off to the races. It'd be super simple. It was a little bit difficult. But you know what? I think we've achieved it. And we've already got something going on here. Now all I need to do is trim off all this excess, you know, cheesecloth that's making our Kokedama look like a little ghost. So Kokedama is actually a form of bonsai. And when you're getting into plants and gardening and things like that, the word bonsai is going to just come up in your life here and there. It's a big part of that world. And bonsai to me, whenever I heard that word, it was always so mysterious, and I thought it was reserved, you know, for the professionals out there. Those were the people that were out there doing bonsai. And then you know what? I actually met the president of the bonsai club here down in my little town in North Carolina where I live, and he was selling off a bunch of his stuff because he was moving to a new place, and we got to talking for a while, and I learned a lot from this man. And it turns out that bonsai is actually just it's an art form. It's a Japanese art form of taking really any plant, although you know some plants are obviously more suitable for it, and making it look like a little tree. So it's the matter of, you know, pruning and training, and there's all sorts of techniques and things that you can do to take any sort of plant and make it look like a miniature little tree. And that's bonsai. That's all it is. The mystery is over. So let me lean back over here. Let me give you a nice up close look at this. We've got a ball. It's feeling a little bit loose at this point. We've got it nice and secured right around the base, just to kind of keep everything in place. Remember our sphagnum moss? Well, this is what's actually going to live on the outside of your Kokedama. It's going to keep everything nice and moist, and it's also going to tell you, it's going to be sort of the indicator of when your Kokedama needs to be watered. And before this video is over, don't worry, I'm going to show you how to take care of your Kokedama. And I just wanted to say Kokedama a few more times. If I'm being completely honest, I think the reason that I'm making this video in the first place was just so that I could say Kokedama as many times as possible. I also didn't plan on making near this much of a mess. We're going to give it a little spritz just like we did the soil. It'll make everything a little bit easier to work with, a little more malleable. Is that the word? Malleable? Okay. So let's take our soil ball. This is where everything's going to get nice and tight. This is the final push. And similar to when we wrapped our cheesecloth around the soil, we're going to do the same thing with our moss and create a nice mossy ball. And this is the part where you're just going to have to sort of start working it. That's the best word I can come up with, is working it. You want to squish that moss on there. Don't be afraid to squish it in good. And for this next step, we're not just leaving it like that. We're going back to our twine, and now we just got to sort of marry all of this stuff together. Some people use fishing line. I'm gonna use twine. It's all about just wrapping around this thing over and over and over again so that we can secure the moss to that cheesecloth filled soil ball that we got going on, or that soil filled cheesecloth ball, I should have said. It's all about just kind of getting everything to hold into place. I'm just gonna kind of sporadically, randomly go over this thing. And I'm not quite sure how to start. I think maybe to start off, I need sort of like an anchor. So I think we're gonna go right around the middle. Just so I can tie it off and sort of create a little bit of tension on the string here, something so I can pull against. It'll also help me kind of pull the middle of this moss in a little bit. I'm going in sort of a random, sort of just all over it kind of approach. And everywhere that you put the string, let me get a little bit closer. Everywhere that you put the string, it'll sort of pull the moss in a little bit. And you can use that to your advantage to sort of get that ball-like shape that you're going for. So hold the string a little bit tight like this, see? This is where you get to, believe it or not, this is where you get to be creative. This is how you're, you know, securing the moss down to your ball there. I'm just saying random things. I've got a little bit of a bare spot right there. Something inside of me said ignore it, but I don't want to ignore it. I'm going to go grab a little bit more moss. I'll see you back down here. I'll get out of your face. We'll continue wrapping this twine around here. I'm a little bit scared to put this down, so I think I'm going to take this with me when I go get my extra moss. But have fun with this part. This is Kokedama making right here. I mean, we're working moss around a ball. It's nice, it's squishy. It smells delicious. I'm not even going to say what it smells like because, well, you need to find that out for your own when you're making your Kokedama. Again, the reason that we're doing this is because this is creating a nice little compact vessel for this plant to spend its life in. Well, I don't think that's a traditional knot, but it's something, that's for sure. Should maybe go for one more. I don't feel good about that. But basically what I'm doing here, guys, is I'm tying this thing off. We've successfully created a rich, moist soil ball, surrounded by some cheesecloth, mind you, and then wrapped that soil ball with beautiful looking sphagnum moss, which is not only going to protect everything inside of there, keep those roots nice and safe, feeling all cozy like they're snuggled up in their blanket, but it's also going to help this thing absorb moisture. It's going to help water this plant, and can you believe it? Can you believe that's all there is to it? That's not quite all there is to it though. First of all, some people would stop here, but if you're a pro, you're going to want to get in there. You're going to see a little bit of your cheesecloth. So you're going to want to get in there and clip all that stuff out. Just as good as you can. But we're not done yet. Remember I told you at the very beginning of this video that this foliage was going to be flapping around in my face the whole time? Well, I've suffered through that just so that we could save this final shot. I just thought it would make a good final shot for the video to kind of trim this thing down to make it, to start turning it into that tiny little tree that we're going to be going for with this Kokedama. And yeah, let's do that. Let's do that final shot now. Because every time you make a cut on a plant, you just want to find the section right between the leaves. So this is a node, and this is a node. Everywhere a leaf comes out is called a node. And you just want to make your cuts anywhere in between that. And when you cut in between those nodes, well, eventually what will happen is it'll send a signal to that plant that it needs to send a little bit more energy up there because it lost one of its appendages and now it needs to shoot out a few more for you. Now, But keep in mind, as with bonsai, as with all plants in general, yeah, the fun is in watching them come back to life, right? The fun is in watching them become what they're meant to become, but also, you know, giving them a little nudge in the direction that you want them to go as well. Okay, so that's 2. I think this back one we're going to take down quite severely. No. So welcome back down to the table. Let's make this final cut. I actually kind of severed the, I just scraped the skin of this ginseng plant. Can you see right there those 2 little white dots? Those always pop out when you cut a ginseng plant. Look at the top of the other cuts that I made. It wasn't in vain, little ginseng plant. It's looking a little bit out of balance there, isn't it? Like this side's kind of low, this side's kind of high. We're gonna take this one down to here. We're actually gonna take this one down one more. Right there. And now technically what I could do is I could just pinch these leaves off down here. I can throw this little stem in some water. Given a little bit of time, it'll produce some more roots and we'll have us a whole new little ginseng plant to Kokedama up. So take a good look at our Kokedama. Should I go all the way around for you? Do a 360. I could have spun it around with my hand, but I decided to 360 around the table instead. How do you end a Kokedama making video besides just kind of, you know, looking at it, admiring it, maybe try and catch a thumbnail or 2 while you're in here? So that was building a Kokedama, a whole new venture into a world of growing a plant without a pot. I never thought I'd see the day. You get to get in there, get your hands dirty, you get to work a soily, mossy ball together. I mean, in my world, a day just almost doesn't get any better than that. And just as a little finale, I've been working on making little cement pieces and things like that. Let's pop our new little tray right there beside the terrarium and put our Kokedama in its new home. But I've almost wrapped up this entire video and there's one crucial thing that I forgot. Okay, so to water this thing, you're gonna get you a bowl full of water. You're gonna wanna be able to, you know, pretty much submerge this thing all the way down, or you can use your sink or something like that. Typically what you'd want to do is leave it fully submerged and then just, you know, let it sit there for 10, 15 minutes or so. Basically you want to give it time to allow the moss to kind of absorb that water, to pass it through that cheesecloth into the soil so everything is nice and saturated in there. You're going to learn by the weight of this thing. When you pick it up off of the tray, you remember what that feels like. Let your plant teach you a little bit. And that's pretty much all there is to it. And I think we finally done it. I think that's the end of the video. That was making a Kokedama. I had a good time. I hope you had a good time. I don't know what I'll be doing next, but I can't wait to see you there. Cut.